It's being introspective enough, so being able to look inside and at yourself enough to acknowledge that there is a gap between where you are and where you want to be. What's guys? Welcome back to another Growth Talk. Today, I feel like we need to discuss what personal development really is. Like, what does it really look like? Somebody asked me to, to give my overview, what my definition of personal development to them the other day, and it was more in an effort to extract a more roundabout question, but nonetheless. My answer was, it's being introspective enough, so being able to look inside and at yourself enough to acknowledge that there is a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And then getting up every day and doing all that you can do to close that gap. That's personal development for me. Like, that's personal growth and personal development for me. That's my overview, my definition, is being introspective enough to acknowledge that there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and then doing everything that you can to close it. So if it's a new skill that you need to acquire to close that gap, if it's a new relationship, whatever it might be, to close that gap. You get up and you go to war with that every day. You go to war with that gap every day. Because until, and like the end game of personal development doesn't really exist. Like, that goalpost is constantly being moved farther and farther away from you. As you evolve, your plan evolves, your end game evolves. So it's always getting farther away. So I think that might, that might be a little discomforting for some people, but for me, like, that's the sauce, that's the juice. Like, this game goes on and on, my friend. It'll never end, and like I'm happy for that, because that's what really gives me my sense of fulfillment. That's what sets me on fire, is getting up and going to war with that gap and becoming my ideal self. Like, who it is that, like, my future self that I've idolized. Like, I want to get up and do everything that I can to become that man, and I do. And like, we're not all on fire all the time. That's why, like, if you listen to my words, like, I'm very intentional with them, and especially in the sense of doing all that you can do. Like, I find a lot of people, want to reference other people's, what other people's all out looks like to theirs. Like, I can tell you, like, I've been around a lot of high achievers in my life, and not everybody's on fire every day. Like, actually, the more intentional of us actually can acknowledge and the fact that we're not going to be on fire every day. So we have days where we're on fire, where we harness that, and that is being utilized towards specific goals that need that kind of energy to be leveraged, as where there's other days where, you're a little bit more down. You're not as on fire. You're not as extroverted. You're having more of an introverted day, kind of in your head, kind of thinking about, thinking about stuff, overthinking some stuff. That happens to all of us. Like, there's always going to be an up and down to it all. And like I said, like, those of us that are actually more intentional about it, of the awareness of that, is like, we have specific days where, it's all out, balls to the wall. And then we have other days where, we're basically firing on half the cylinders. And that's fine, because, like, you can't be on fire every day. But what you gotta do, and, like, honestly, like, I implore you to do this, like, you need to get up and close that gap to the best of your abilities every day. And that's it. I think that's the disconnect, is like everybody's always, you know what I mean, always wants to compare their efforts to somebody else's. But effort is individual to you. Like nobody can take away the effort that you put into something, and nobody can earmark your effort as more or less than somebody else's, unless you're competing for a same task, or like the, you know what I mean, the same thing, and like you're actually being graded on effort. That's the only time. Other than that, like as far as like introspectively assessing other people and the effort that they're putting in to achieve the results that they're experiencing or that they're seeking, effort is relative. Effort is always going to be relative to you. So always just get up and do all that you can do to close that gap, to become incrementally better every day. That's it. That's the sauce. That's personal development. That's personal growth in a nutshell. At least for me, like that's my description of it. Closing that gap. But anyways, until next time, let's grow together.